Hello beautiful people, welcome or welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I want to show you guys how to create a simple contract form on your WordPress website. So this is going to be for people who are in similar situations like myself, where you are a freelancer, where you don't have a lot of in-person interactions with your clients. However, you do want to be able to send them to a place on your website that is consistent with the rest of your website or whatever else that you've had these clients look at, and fill out their contract right here. So I created this simple form. As you see, it has the form fields. Now the form fields can be whatever you choose. And I do have this little agreement right here that has to be checked in order for the form to be submitted. And not only that, guys, I have this signature, because that's the thing when it comes to contracts, is to have some sort of signature. And I'm using my mouse right now, but as you see, I'm able to fill this out or sign this form, and then of course I could go ahead and submit that. So I want to show you guys how to create this inside of WordPress. So let's go ahead and hop right into the tutorial. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you do have Crocoblock installed and activated on your website. If you guys don't know what Crocoblock is a suite of different WordPress plugins that you can use to make dynamic websites and overall just enhance how your website functions, how it looks, and all of that things. If you really want to take your website up a notch, this is the platform or the plugin that you need to download. I do have a link for you guys if you guys want to follow along with this tutorial. I highly recommend them. This is not a sponsored video. However, I just truly enjoy the tool and I like to bring these tutorials to you guys. So yeah, that's the first thing. You need to go ahead and already have Crocoblock installed and activated. Once you do that, you also need to make sure that you grab the JetForm builder. So once you actually install Crocoblock, and if you pay and buy the suite of tools, you will have JetForm builder plugin. That's the main thing about this. You definitely want to make sure you have JetForm builder. This is what we're going to be using to create the contract form. So after you do have Crocoblock and JetForm Builder already installed, the first thing you need to do is underneath the JetForm Builder, you need to actually go down here to where it says add-ons. The reason why we're not going to go and create our form first is because we need the signature field, and that is going to be underneath the add-on. So if we were to go back here, remember I said right here you have the ability to put a signature, and you won't have this option right out of the box with JetForm Builder. You will have to have the add-on. So this will be a pro feature if you guys do not already have the plugin yourself. So again, take advantage of the link down below. However, if you were to, let's hover over here and let's choose the add-ons tab right here. You will see that they have a few different plugins that you can add to your JetForms. This way you can do all types of cool things. And as you see, there's a few options that you can use right here, but what you're looking for is going to be this signature one right here. This is going to be an add-on that will sit down here somewhere, and all you have to do is click on install add-on. And just remember, it is a pro feature, so be sure you do have the pro versions of the Crocoblock suite or JetForm builder. So now that I have this activated, now it's time to actually go and create the contract form. So we're gonna go right underneath the JetForm builder again, but this time we're gonna choose forms. And as you see, I have a ton of different forms. This is actually a live site, guys, so that's why we're gonna see a lot of stuff already done. But what we're gonna do is go ahead and create a new form. Now, obviously, you definitely want to give the form a title. So I'm going to just title it project form, or not project form, project contract form. Because again, this is going to act as our contract between us as the web designers and the client. So the first thing that we're going to do after we titled it is go ahead and start putting in our fields. So let's just go back and take a look. Let's clear that out. Let's just take a look at our contract form. As you guys see, we have a field for the name, the first name and the last name. We also have a field for the email. We also have this checkbox because we want people to agree to something right here. And then we also have the signature. Now, I just went over the signature. That was the add-on we just added. But however, now it's time to create these fields right here. So the first thing we're going to do is just click on this button that just says start from scratch. Now, obviously, there are a few different templates or different fields right here that you can use. However, I'm going to show you guys from scratch. So we're going to click on that button that says start from scratch. Now, this first field right here that you will see that kind of like pop in by default after you start from scratch is going to be something called a hidden field, which is perfect. That's actually one of the fields we're going to be using. So we're going to actually keep this custom hidden field right here. Now, what we're going to use this for is going to be for the dates. And I'm going to get into the reasons why we're going to be using this in just a second. However, let's go ahead and set this one up. So again, this field right here is a hidden field. You would know that it's a hidden field because this is the one that we're working with. You can tell because it has a blue outline on it. And over on the right, you see you have this tab right here for the block. And as you see, the block that we're currently on is a hidden field. So if this is your first time working with the JetForm builder, I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a crash course as I am going throughout how to build this form. So right here underneath here, what we're going to do for the field value, we're going to click this because we're going to use this as the date field. So what we're going to be using, or what we're looking for, is going to be called current date, which is right here. We're going to go ahead and click that. And now this part is super important. I'm going to actually leave the snippet at the bottom of, or in the description box, or the first pinned comment, but we want to update the format because by default, the format for the date fields inside of the forms with WordPress look very hideous. It's easy to, or it's not easy to read and understand. So we're going to put in the code. I just got this from ChatGPT and it works perfectly. So trust me on this. I'll have it linked down below. And that code is going to be this right here. So this is just a snippet that ChatGPT told me to use and it works perfectly. I already tested it out, so trust me on this. However, this is just going to format the date pretty legible, or what am I trying to say? It's going to be easy for us humans to actually understand and read it at a glance, and it doesn't look very old, outdated, and just not even legible. So that's all that's for. Again, I have it posted or pasted down below. You can just copy and paste it. Now, the next thing we need to do is go back over here to the right-hand side because it's a few things we need to update. So like I just said, we changed the value to be the current date, but I see it did not update over here. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and all I'm going to do for the value is type in current underscore date. But that's pretty much it for this first hidden field. So now we're just going to close that by clicking off anywhere off the field, and then we see a text field. Again, by default, once you start from scratch, they're just going to go ahead and pop in a little widget for you or a field for you, and by default it have a text field. We're going to keep that because the next few fields we need are actually going to be a text field. However, you could just simply go ahead and delete it if you don't want it. And then how you add new fields to it is go up here to the plus, and all we're going to do is just type in a field, right? And as you see, all of the different types of field that you want to add to your specific form will be right here. But if you're going to be following on with this video, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to add in a text field. And as you see, let's just close that out. And as you see, it dropped in a new field here for us. It's already, it's blank for us, and we can start popping things in here. So obviously the first thing we want is going to be the first name of the person who's filling it out. Oh, can I spell? There I go. And again, there's nothing else is needed over here. However, on the right hand side, we want to make sure all of this is right. So as you see, the label is first name. Why? Because I want the person on the front end using this form. So if I just go back here, you'll see that they'll actually see first name. These are considered your labels. So for those, you can make them capitalized. You can, put spaces in them. It's totally up to you. So that is our label. We want to keep that exactly how we have it, first name. But for the field name, again, lowercase, and we're going to use the underscore. Now, I'm not going to say that anymore to make this video too long and drawn out, but I hope you guys get it. Label, field name. And that's pretty much it for this one as well. We're going to keep the field type on a text. This part is super important for one of the next fields we're going to be creating, but more about that in just a bit. So the next thing I want to do is the last name. And to be honest, since it's going to be similar to the first name, what I'm going to do is just open up my navigator or the layers tab right here. And I'm just going to click on this one and duplicate it. Only thing is this time, let's close out the navigator. Only thing is this time I want it to be the last name. So on that field, I'm going to make sure I come back over on the right side. And I'm going to make sure these match up. So again, since I did duplicate this, I do need to go and change that field name. Now, if you didn't duplicate it like I did, and maybe you went here and you added a new text field, you wouldn't have to change that. However, if you're going to be duplicating things, again, make sure you adjust the field name. So we got our first one. We have first name, the last name. Now the last one, or one of the, wait. So now the next one we need is going to be an email field. So let's just go back up here to the widgets and let's just type in field once more. And this time you don't see an actual email field. So what we're going to do is still pull in a text field. Drop that in right there, close out the navigator and scroll down to it. This time we're going to go ahead and title this to be email. Oh, go here. I'm going to type it in to say email. We're going to go over here on the right. We're going to make sure we change that. If I just click into the field, you will see it automatically generated from the label, which is perfect. That's what we want. We want to say email. If we scroll down, now this is where field type comes into play. We're using a text box, true enough, or a text box field, true enough, because we do want the end person or the person viewing this form to actually type something in. However, this field type won't just be a simple text this time. It will be an email. So we're going to make sure we change that from text to email. Now we have our first few fields. We have our first name, we have our last name, we have our email. Now it's time to add in 2 more fields. So let's go back and check out our form. So now you see after the fields here, we have this one right here, which is a checkbox for people to confirm or agree to whatever we want them to agree to. Again, this is personal preference, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So we want to go up here to add new. And this time we're going to just type in checkbox, because what we need is this checkbox field right here. We're going to go ahead and drop that in right there. Let's close out the navigator to blow this up a little bit. Now with this one, we're going to use this checkbox as a I agree, or like an agreement thing. You know, kind of sort of like you're checking out on a website and you have to agree to the privacy policy before you check out. This is kind of what we're going to recreate here. So what we need to do is we're going to keep the field option from, we're going to keep that on a manual input because we're going to actually put this in manually. We're going to skip the label as well as the things here, because what we're going to do now is click on manage item. And we're going to add a new option. Then you will see these 3 things right here pop up. So the label is going to be what we want to have shown once a person sees this checkbox. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some text here. I have the text from the original form. This is going to be our label. This is going to act as the label for our checkbox field. And then underneath the value, we're just going to say, I agree. So essentially, we're saying that this checkbox is going to be for this label, basically this agreement. And once a person clicks the checkbox, that means that they're opting in to agree. Basically, they're saying, I agree. So that's going to be our value. And that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and update that. And as you see now, at first it had manual input by the checkbox because of course that's what it was set on. But now you actually see the label that we put. So if I open this managed items back up right here, you see that's the label. If I were to just close this, you see now it shows right there, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. We want it to show up on the front end with a checkbox, and we want our confirmation or agreement details to sit right next to it. Now over on the right hand side, there's a few things that we need to change. So we're going to keep the field label blank because again, we don't have a field label here, and we don't want a field label because we just want the checkbox to sit here with the agreement right there. We don't want a label like these up here have. So we're going to keep that blank, but for the field name, we're going to change this to say agreement. Why? Because we made this to say I agree as a value. So basically we're saying that this field is going to be our agreement field. We're going to keep it at that. And we're going to add in the signature. So earlier we did install the plugin. So now if we were to just go here and let's just type in signature, we'll see that we now have the signature field. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it underneath the label and close out the navigator, and there we go. Now we have the signature label right here. Now let's work with this one. So what we're going to do, we can give this a label if we want. Just say signature. So now if we were to go over here on the right hand side, we're just going to click on the field name, and as you see, the field name automatically generates because our label already says signature. Now, if we were to just scroll down, we can skip these two right here. This right here for the usage instructions is going to be very, very, very important. So be sure you guys are paying attention. We're going to come right back to this. I want to quickly show you guys some other settings, but we will be using this. So make sure when you see that you do pay that some attention. Now, if we just scroll down, you'll see that there's a bunch of different other settings. So this signature field, once you get the email back to you saying, hey, this person just signed the contract, yada, yada, you would want, or the signature field will generate back to you as a image format. So you can choose how you want that to be. You can choose JPEG, you can choose PNG, you can choose whatever is totally up to you. For the rest of this stuff, I really just kept this stuff default because I don't need to mess with any of that. It's working perfectly fine for me. Now you can adjust the canvas width of all of this stuff. I would just say keep it at 100% because you never know who's going to be filling out the contract, and you just want to be sure that you can, cover the path of everybody, all finger types of, signing your contract. And then of course you have some options back here. So depending on your specific website, your design, you can change this if you want. So if we just take a look at mine, you would see that I do have a white background right here that I'm using for my form. So if this is going to be by default white, people won't necessarily see that if the signature field was also white. Why? Because the background of my entire form is already white. So for the purposes of my form, I did go ahead and go back here. I did use the canvas background. I went from white because as you see by default it's on white. And of course I just chose a darker grayish color. That way people can actually see that they can do something right there in that field. And of course you can change the pen color. I would highly suggest you just keep that on black. And that's pretty much it. And of course you have a clear button, which is right here. You can change this to say delete or remove or whatever, but we're going to just keep that at clear because it just makes the most sense. Now that we have the form, let's just close this out real quickly so you guys can see. Now we have our form. We have the first name, we have the last name, we have the email, we have the little agreement thing that we want people to check here, and then we have our signature. And of course by default every form that you create comes with a submit button, which is perfect. But there's still a few things we need to do. First and foremost, if we go back to our form, you will see that we actually have the first name and the last name sitting next to each other. So we need to create that same effect. Now, generally, you can do whatever you want. It's your form, so, to each his own. But if you guys do want to know how to do that, the way I do that is just by going here. And we're just going to click on a container, or it's called columns. We're going to choose a column and we're going to drop it right there, and we're going to use the 2 columns, so the equal split, the 50-50. And all we're going to do is take the first name. So let's just open up the layers tab here. Let's open up the columns. Let's take first name and drop it into column 1, and let's take last name and drop it into column 2. And as you see, I just close this. Now you see the first name and last name sit next to each other, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now, before we dive deeper, of course, there's a few other things that I forgot to touch on while we're on each individual field, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about them now. So you have this thing called an asterisk right here, which is going to be for required fields. Now, obviously, if they're going to be doing a contract, you want everything on this contract that they're filling out to be required. So under every field, we will choose this. So if you just choose it, it will turn black, and now it will be required. And as you see, the asterisk is right there now, showing you or indicating to you that it is in a required field. That way, no one can fill out this form or submit this form without filling the fields out. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to go ahead and make all of these fields required. And now that I have everything required, the next thing I'm going to do is going back to the first field. And the next thing I'm going to do is this little broom right here. This is called sanitation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And what I want to do is sanitize the email. Right, I'm going to go ahead and click on sanitize. Well, that's not an email. So actually sanitize the text. I forgot this is a text field, guys. So make sure that whichever field you're in, you click the sanitation for that specific field. So this is a text field. So I'm going to sanitize the text. And while we're doing this is just making sure that everything that's being put into our forms are going to be things that are clean and not any crazy, weird, or demonic stuff. We don't want anybody just putting certain things inside of your form fields. You want to make sure that all of the stuff that you're getting is clean. So we're just going to go ahead and choose sanitized text. We're going to go to the last name. We're going to do the same thing. It's going to be sanitized text. We're going to go here to the email, and this time instead of sanitized text, we're going to choose the sanitized email. That way it picks up that this is an email field and we want to sanitize it. We can skip the label one, and for the signature, it doesn't even have one, so we can skip that one. All right, so with that being said, we're pretty much close to being done with the front end of the form settings. So we have our forms here. Now the last thing is to go over here to this signature, because we really want to make sure that when somebody actually puts this in, that we can see this as the admin, seeing that someone signed the contract. We want to be able to actually visually see their signature. So this is going to be super important for our post-submit action. So let's go back to the signature. Let's scroll down and let's just go ahead and copy this piece of code right here. Now it's time for us to go to the JetForm tab right here. And you see right here, we have something called the post-submit action. So this is going to be everything that's going to happen after someone actually submits the form, or in our case, our contract. So by default, it will save the form record, which is perfect. That's what we want. We're not going to bug or mess with that one right there. However, we will add a new action. So I'm just going to choose add new action. And obviously the next thing I want to do is to send an email. I'm going to choose send email. Now the first email I want to be sent is obviously going to be to the client. So it needs to go to the email from the person who submitted, right? So the person who emailed, they just put in this form, who submitted the form. This is who I want the email, or this particular email, to go to. So the form field will be from the email, because obviously we're going based off email. And if I scroll down, we have a few other options. So the reply to will obviously be the admin email. So if you're building this website for a client, be sure that you choose their email, or if they're already an admin, make sure you choose admin email. However, if this is for you and your site, obviously the same email that you use for the WordPress admin is the same email that you want to receive these emails to. Be sure to click on admin email. For the subject, you can choose anything. I'm just going to go ahead and put in this right here. So this is just whatever it is this contract is going to be for. Go ahead and automatically put a default subject line. So for me, it's like, hey, your website proposal agreement confirmation. So that's what I created this form for. So that will be the subject line. The from name is obviously whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and choose my brand name. And of course, the from email, which is also my brand email. Now for the content type, we're going to use HTML. You can use plain text if you want. However, I do know when you use HTML, you can make things a bit more dynamic. So I'm going to go ahead and choose HTML. And once I scroll down, this is where you put in the content. So what do you want this email to say after someone submit this email? So since we're going to be using HTML, this is going to unlock us to be able to use something called macros. If you don't understand what macros is, just chat GPT, they'll, further explain it. However, these are going to be the dynamic fields from our actual form that we can now utilize in the actual email that will be generated for, every individual client. Because I can't say something like, hey, John Doe, because that means everybody will get hey John Doe to their email, but we don't want that. We want it to be specifically catered to them. So if Sarah fills out this form, we want this to automatically say hey Sarah. Then Maria comes along and she signs up. We want to say hey Maria. So that's going to be the importance of macros. So the little tip that I would suggest you guys do is go ahead and just copy all of this. Why? Because all of these are the different fields that are associated with our form or with your contract that we just created. So go ahead and copy all of these macros. Then go over into ChatGPT and just paste those macros. And right behind those macros, just say something like this. These are the macros used for my project contract form, whatever your form is, just put that in there. Create me an email that will send to me after a client successfully fills out this form. Now, obviously, I was doing it for me, but also you can do it for them, or you can even take the part out that says send to me. You can just say that will be sent, take away that, after a client successfully fills out the form. Now, once you do that, just go ahead and let them come up with some nice email for you. So, hey, first name, as you see, they're using those macros from our actual form. Hey, first name, thank you for completing your project contract, da 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 da. And then it leaves their name, their email, the agreement, basically whether they agree to it or not, and then their signature. Again, it's just going to list all of the records or the form fields to us, letting us know what they put. And it's also will be like a receipt to the client. So I would just say, do this. And this is an easy way for you to get an HTML style email template that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I already have one created, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that here. Okay, so now you see mine is right here. I have everything in here. Now, this is the part that was super important. Remember earlier, I just grabbed the code snippet for the signature, because remember, we want the signature to be seen inside of the email. That way, us and the client know that they actually did physically sign the contract. This is where you want to do that. Now, I didn't just show you that, but you could have also pasted in where, here when we created this, you could have been like, hey, also I have, we can just type it in. Also, add in the signature field for the image to be attached to the email. Here is the code. Paste that code there and go ahead and submit. Now it's going to redo it, and this time it's actually going to have right here the signature that's going to be held or shown in the actual email. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. But as you see right here, I have signature. It just says in attachment, and then it has the code right here. That way, of course, when you and the client receive the email, they will see the actual image of their signature right there. And that's pretty much it for that. We can just scroll down, and of course we can now choose what things that we want to have attached. We're just going to use signature because that's the only thing we really just want to be attached. However, you could go ahead and you can just go ahead and put all of these in there. It's totally up to you. We're going to go ahead and put all of them, and we're going to go ahead and update this. So that was the first email that sent out to the actual client. Now we need another one because by default, we actually won't get the email if we don't put it right here. We'll have the record saved, true enough, but we won't get an email, and we want an email too. So let's go and do another action, and this time it's still going to be send email. And we're going to do the same thing, just switch the settings up just a little bit. So obviously this time the mail will come to the admin email. The reply to obviously going to be the admin email. In the subject, we can put something like new contract signed or something like that. Let's scroll down. From name, we can just go ahead and keep this pretty much the same. It's still from us. The email is still going to be, I don't see it. There we go. And of course, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go for HTML, and we can honestly just paste that same thing right here. But of course, we can go into ChatGPT and say, let's scroll down and say this time that it can be for us. It can be for the admin. So we can just go over here, ChatGPT, and we can just let them know, hey, for this email, now switch it up for the admin, for me, who will be seeing it. So this way, now this time it can say something to, you know, hey, Michelle at BizDorks, someone else just created or signed a contract or yada yada. So you can swap out the email, obviously going based off the same situation I just showed you for the client email. So now you will see underneath the post submit actions, we now have the record that'll be saved, which is going to be good that we can always go back and find the records, as well as the email will be sent to the client and the email will be sent to us. Perfect. Now there are some other settings down here that you guys can do if you want to. Like for the validation, you can enable, well, this one is enabled by default. You can enable honeypot. This just will help you make sure that you can kind of get rid of some spam, because spamming is a thing. You can go ahead and do that. And that's pretty much it. Everything we're going to keep the same, and we're going to go ahead and publish this. All right, so now once you do have a form created, you will see it underneath the form tab, and there go our project contract. Now it's time to go to the actual page where you want the contract to be seen. So you just go to the pages, and if you have not already created a page for it to be on, this is where you do it. You just go add you a new page, create this page, edit it with Elementor, open it with Elementor, and now I'm going to show you guys how to pop that on a page. So let's just say you created your page and you already edited with Elementor. Already did that here. So I have this page. I have the page setting to be Elementor canvas, because for the contract, I don't want anybody to be distracted. I just want them to solely see the contract. So I took away the header and the footer by doing Elementor canvas. And all I have is a heading, text editor. And the next thing you need to do right here is obviously put in the form. So if I were to just delete this, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it so I can show you guys. Over here in the widgets tab, you're just going to type in form, and you will see this widget right here for the JetForm. Now, of course, we just created this form inside of JetForm. So in order to show it on the front end, we need to use that exact widget. Now, once you pull the widget in, you need to choose the form. So we're going to choose the form we just created, which is the project contract. Once we choose it, you'll see your form right here. Now, right out of the box, obviously, it just gives you a, simple, blank, very bland form, and it's up to you to create it, design it up and make it look a lot more beautiful. However, there is your form. You have a bunch of different options over here. A bunch of these options or settings you basically just set up on the back end. However, if you go over here to the style tab, here is where the magic happens, and you can start designing this up to make it look exactly how you will want. So for, just a quick reference, let's just say for the labels, or no, not the labels, the input fields, these little boxes right here, maybe you want the background color to be your brand colors. Let's say you're working on a website, it's dark mode, and you want to make the field colors a little bit more vibrant. You can do that. You can also edit the placeholder text if you had placeholder text. You can go to, let's say, the label. The labels are, again, the places or the text that sits above the field, and you have a bunch of different things that you can do over here as well. So I'm not going to go over the styling, but as you see, the options are here for you. And after that, you just go ahead and publish the form or the page. And this is what you will have. So after you design it up to make it look exactly how you want, you will have your page with your form. And after someone actually signs up, you will then get the details. Let me just show you guys what that pretty much looks like. So let's go back to the dashboard. And right underneath the JetForm builder, we're going to actually this time choose form records. If I were to just choose the form records, this will then show me the records basically of all the forms. So as you see, we had a few people fill out the form recently, and we are able to see them right here. So if I were to just open one of these, you will then be able to see all of the details for that form. Now, granted, you will obviously get this directly to your inbox if it's set up correctly, your SMTP and all that stuff is set up. You will get this straight to your inbox, which I'm going to show you guys next. You can always revert back to this. So let's just say this was from a client a few months back. Of course, you're not going to find an email. However, you can just go over to the form records, type it in, and boom, there you go. All of the stuff or the details needed for that particular contract that was signed. All right, so right here, I did hide a few of my emails, guys. This is my real deal email, so bear with me. Yeah, so I have my 2 emails here. So the first one I noticed I got was a client signed or a client contract signed. So this is to me, this is to the admin saying that, hey, you just got a new sign up for, or a new contract was signed. So if I just open this, you will see that I do have all of the details right here. So it's like, hey, Ms. Doris, the new contract agreement was submitted, and here are the details. So I have the client name, their email, the agreement piece, or basically that checkbox that says I accept, and then the date that it was signed. And with the date, you see that there's something that's very legible. Now, just imagine this one right here that you can obviously see clearly. You understand it. You even see the time in a nice fashion. This is the format, or this is the reason why we changed that date in that hidden field at the beginning of this video to the code that I had, or not the code, the text that I do have copied and pasted down in the description. This is the reason why you needed that, so it can show up like this. If you don't do that, it's going to show up very ugly. There we go, we have it, it's legible. And then you will see, if we just scroll down, it did indeed go ahead and automatically attach their signature inside of the email, which is perfect because, again, we want to actually see that a person actually physically, or signed this contract, versus it just being like a checkbox of saying I agree. This is letting me know that you have your signature handwritten right here, and that's exactly what we want. Now that one was to the admin. Now right above it, or right after it, you also see that me as the client, because I used the same email, me as the client, I actually signed it, and I got an email too that says your website proposal agreement confirmation, because remember, we set that to be our subject line. So if I just open this one, you will see now it says, hey, Michelle Matthews, thank you for reviewing and agreeing to your website proposal, or to our website proposal. They just let me know I have a typo at the Web Design Studio, and here's a copy of your record. So now it's showing the client, here are the things or the details that you gave me, and here also is an attachment to the signature that you left, just so it's like a receipt to them, letting them know, hey, you filled this out, you signed it, so I'm just giving you this copy. And of course, us as the admin have our copy too. And that's exactly how you can create a simple project or a simple contract form on your WordPress website that also has this cool signature functionality as well. That way it gives off a realistic contract signature form situation. I just showed you guys how to do this step by step. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel out a lot. That's all I have in today's video, guys, and I will see you in the next one.